Welcome back to codezing.org. We're going to do another project. So this is level 2 called Magic Spell. You can find it at codezing.org/spell. This one, like this one. If you go to codezing.org, you can find it under the level 2 code. Create your own magic spell. What does this one do? Let's see. So it says your spell is Firmus Dentis, and it means firm tooth. What do you think it does? I don't know, firm tooth? That is a weird one. What else do we got? Largus Famulus, large servant. What do you think it does? You know, maybe you get a large, it creates a large servant who will do what you want. We'll do one more. Plenus Clamor, full shout. I don't know. So let's take a look at the code and see what it's doing behind the scenes there to make those magic spells. So copy the code. Obviously, you can get that by clicking on the buttons at the bottom of the page. Open your Python interpreter, Spider IDE. Paste that in. If you don't have Spider or Python, head back to the website and follow the links to get Python installed. This is another one that's could be similar to Fortune Teller and quite a few of the other ones where it is going to make a random draw from a list that we've defined. So it's importing random, which is the random library that we've used extensively, and it's going to make a random sample again out of these two lists that we've put together. And once it makes the random sample, it's going to create a spell and create the meaning and then print them out. Let's run it once and see how it works here. So it just creates a Crudelis Fama, bloody rumor. Whoa, bloody rumor. Densus Famulus, thick servant. Avidus Capillus, greedy hair. I don't know, greedy hair. All right. Anyway, makes me laugh. So what I did, how did I make this one? Latin adjective. So I went to a website and looked for Latin adjectives and Latin nouns. I think I just Google searched Latin adjectives and Latin nouns. There's a lot of websites out there with Latin words, or you could even probably go to like Google Translate or something and translate from English or whatever language into Latin. And then I did a list of lists, and we saw this last time too, and maybe it seems a little strange, but you can see we have an outer list, and within that Python list we have smaller lists. So we have this outer list, and within that is lists of two items, and so it's the Latin adjective and the English translation of that adjective. And I put in quite a few. Obviously, the more you put in, the more variation you'll get, and you can. With lists, you can stack them like this. Sometimes it's easier to read instead of having to go flying across the page. Is after every comma that separates a list from another list, you could just hit enter and it will stack them on top of each other. So these are the adjectives I found and the ones I chose to include. Obviously, you could include whatever you want, or you could do not Latin. You could use any language you wanted. I chose Latin because I guess Harry Potter seems to use all the Latin spells, so that's what I did, but you could use any language. So you can see there's this outer list, and within it all these sublists, each one separated by a comma. And the same thing with all the Latin nouns. It's a bigger, or an outer Python list with lots of sublists. And you could probably do this in a Python dictionary as well with a key and then list, but this is just how I chose to do it. I think in programming there's always lots and lots of different ways to accomplish the same process. So by no means is this the only way to write this type of a program, but it's just the way I chose to do it. So I have this outer list and then all these sublists inside. And each one is the Latin word and then the English translation. And we did that for adjectives and nouns. The next two lines of the code are going to do the random sampling. So we're using our random library from above, and we're using the sample method. And we are looking at the Latin adjectives list, and we want to make one sample. Right? We want to pick one item from the Latin adjectives list. And this bit of code is, when it makes a random sample, it's going to look at the outer list and pick one item. So it's actually going to pick an inner list. It's not going to pick the final word. And then this is just saying, give me the first item in that sublist. So let's break that down. Let's check that out, because that sounds confusing to me when I say it. So let's print this out. This is always, if you're wondering, well, what does that part of the code do? Right? You can always print it out, right? And just see what it does. So let's see the difference between those two statements. So you can see what it's doing here. So when it makes the first random sample, it's going to pick a list item, right? So it's picking one of these sublists, but it's also, when you do random sample, it puts it in a list, because it's usually expecting you to pick more than one, right? So if you pick three items, right, it puts that in a list for you. That's how it returns it, is within a list. So this brackets 0 is telling it to take the first item, right? Because Python lists are numbered starting at 0, so it's taking this 0th item, avidus greedy. So that's what this little add-on is saying. Don't give me the full list, give me the first one. Alright, so now that we've explored what those two chunks of code are doing, down here it is then going to take this. So why don't we, let's print these out too. Let's really see what's going on here. Spell 1 and spell 2. Then down here it's just printing out the two brackets are the placeholders, kind of like the blanks, and the dot format is the method that is going to put these variables. The spell 1 0th item and the spell 2 0th item. And then the spell meaning is going to be blank blank again, but those are going to be filled with the spell 1 first item and the spell 2 first item. So why don't let's print those out too, so we can see that a little better. So if we print spell 1, the 0th item, and spell 1 the first item, you'll see what I mean. And spell 2 0th and first item. I'll put some spacers in there just so we can read it a little better. Whoops. Go my print. Okay. And run that. And we can see that the first random sample it picked is Felix, which means lucky. The second item it picked, right, so this was the adjective. This is the noun. It picks fama, or rumor. And then the 0th item in spell 1, so this is spell 1. The 0th item is Felix, and the first item is lucky, right? Felix and lucky. And in spell 2, the 0th item is fama, and the first item is rumor. So you can see it's doing Felix lucky, fama rumor, and then when it prints them out, it's going to take Felix and fama and put them together, right? Spell 1 0th item, spell 2 0th item is Felix and fama to make the spell, and then the meaning is going to be the first item in spell 1 and the first item in spell 2, and that's lucky and rumor, right? Lucky, spell 1, and rumor. So that's the spell, that's the meaning, and it's just randomly combining the Latin words and the English translations. You can see down here spell and spell meaning. It's just printing out. Spell is a text string that is the two blanks created with the format method. You could also, if you wanted to, seems like I did that in 2 steps, but you could easily probably chop that into 1 step here by just getting rid of that. So now it's spell blank blank and then format, and it's putting these in the blanks. So spell 1 0th item here, spell 2 0th item here. Not exactly sure why I did it in 2 steps. I probably just, I don't know, but that's what I did. So this step is a little redundant. If we take that out, I mess up. It needs another bracket. So it says unexpected end of the function. What happens is I closed this bracket, but I didn't close this bracket. So we need another, close the bracket. There we go. And it's doing the same thing it was before. So I had a little redundancy in there that we cleaned up. So hopefully that was fun. Obviously you can add tons and tons of stuff to this. You could have it do not spells, I don't know, maybe names for your pets or something, and have it draw 2 random words, an adjective and a noun for a pet name, or, you know, be creative. Think up something cool, and if you write some cool code, you want to send it to me, you can email me at info@codezing.org. If it's useful and helpful for other people, if you wrote something cool, I'll post it on the website, and we'll let everybody else see your hard work. If you have questions, you can post them in comments of the video or email info@codezing.org. We'll try to answer your questions as well. So have fun with it, play around, change things. You know, if you break it, feel free to go back to the website, copy and paste in the working code, and start over again. As you go along, it might be a good idea at midpoints to save your work. If you say, oh, I have it working kind of how I want it, then save it. If you want to make more changes, you could always go back to that save version that you have that worked the way you wanted. It's a good idea, especially when you're messing around. It's easy to break the code. So, right, enjoy yourself.